In the book, you say parenting is similar to warfare, symmetrical versus asymmetrical. Can you break that down for us?
Yeah, and ooh, that's a big one. So if you think about maybe symmetrical warfare or traditional warfare, or if you really want to exaggerate the concept, go way, way back when like the coats stood in line and we stood in line and then shot each other. Your enemy was right in front of you. That's how I would over exaggerate like symmetrical warfare. Just bam, there's the enemy. Let's fight. Now, asymmetrical warfare, if you think about all of the things kids are dealing with now, from sexuality to gender to pronouns to like you can go on and on and on. And what's happening is there is, and I'm not saying those things are right or wrong, but what I'm saying is opinions and agendas from multiple sources now have access to our children under the cloak of entertainment and with the support of habit or addiction or dopamine release, which we can unpack all that. Nothing, that's just how it works, right? We go to something we like, we feel good. When we feel good, we tend to return to it. And I would say the moral of that story there is it used to be a father and a mother too, but I'm typically speaking to fathers with this book. It used to be a father could wake up, grab his lunch pail, his Stanley coffee, thermos, go to the factory, pound nails or rivets or whatever that was, come home, hit the recliner, pop the TV on, drink a beer, and ignore the kids, or marginally spend time with them. But now it's a very different story. We need to be wise. We need to understand philosophy. We need to understand science, art, engineering, spirituality, all these different topics so that we can receive their narratives, hear, listen to their narratives, and then help, I'm going to say correct them. Again, not from the context of right or wrong, correct them to lead them to the life, their authentic life, to who they really are meant to be rather than who they're being told to be from other people. Does that make sense how I'm saying that? That's what I
It,
mean by asymmetrical warfare. And most parents and fathers have no clue that's even going on.
it does, because the next question that I had is, what is the role of the father? And you started diving into that, and a lot of fathers out there aren't educated. And I would just tell everybody, there's always agendas. There's always follow the money. I mean, when
Hmm.
there's something being thrown out there, where is the money following from? You mentioned gender. Now you have gender affirming care and all that. Well, look at the doctors and the money that's being supported by that. And is that a wise idea for a 7 or 8 year old to be taking these puberty blockers? I don't think so. But you look at the doctors and the money that's being thrown into that sphere, make the decision for yourself. So that's just one area. We can go into climate change where tons of money is going into that. Is that happening? Not sure, but you always follow the money trail. And I think to me, that's the important thing, that fathers and I think moms, we need to be educated and then sit down, like you said, with our children and discuss that as a family and how it works for your family. But the role of the father, let's continue along with that. I love how you started that. Anything else that you could add to that?
Yeah, absolutely. Just one thing on that piece right there. One of the things I notice with my kids, especially my girls, is social media and these different agendas. Again, I'm not saying one's good or bad. I mean, I have opinions on that, but I just want people to be clean on how I'm expressing this. If you were to go to a child when they're 4 years old and be like, "Do you like broccoli?" They'd probably say no. Like, okay, well, you're a non-broccoli then. But when they're 15, 16, 18, you develop tastes for vegetables at different times, right? So now I love broccoli, and you can actually condition yourself to love broccoli even if you hated it. That's how behavior science works. So my point I would make right there is there's so much pressure on gender and sexuality so early. Like if you would have asked me when I was 8 or 9 years old, do you like girls? I'd be like, like no, they're chasing me all over the place. They make me nervous. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh, then, but that's what's happening. They're like, oh, that means you don't like girls, which means you must X, Y, Z. Again, I'm not going to the right or wrong in that conversation, but what I am saying, there's a tremendous amount of pressure to make choices and decisions before the children are ready for it.
Well, I
Before,
think
I mean,
that's
just they don't have the
the
maturity.
the beauty of the parents. You know, all of my girls, we have 5 girls, all of them at one point in their life were a cat, and it was really irritating. I'm going to be honest. My mom
Yeah.
actually encouraged it, and she would joke around. We'd make creme de la creme. They watched Aristocats a little too much, probably at the time. But then there was a moment where it was dinner time, and me as the parent was like, okay, now you're no longer a cat. Let's move on. And I think a lot of times as parents, we get nervous. We want the kids to love us and like us. And so we tend to like let them make the rules, let them decide what time bedtime is. Funny that you mentioned broccoli, because my girls are convinced that those children that do not like broccoli, the parents don't know how to cook it. That's what they tell me. I said, probably. They're
Probably true.
Italian. I mean, I don't know. We use a lot of garlic. But it's interesting. I think as a parent, you're so afraid, especially nowadays. I think parents are so afraid, especially men. They don't know how to communicate with their kids because they're basically, you guys are battling society and social media and what they're hearing. And now you're on the other side saying, hold on a second, let's find what the truth is.